Music, dance, theater. It's time to take a seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez. Hear from performers, producers, presenters, and creators who enrich our lives in the performing arts. Who's on stage? Here is Tom Alvarez to introduce you.
Hello, and welcome to On the Aisle with me, Tom Alvarez. My guest on today's episode is actor-singer Jim Caruso, who hosts the wildly popular Cast Party, an open mic event held each Monday night at the legendary Birdland in New York City. Join me now as I go on the aisle in my conversation with Jim.
Have you ever covered a carpet stain with a rug, ignored a leaky faucet, pretended your half-painted living room is supposed to look like that? Well, you're not alone. We've all got unfinished home projects. But there's an easier way. Thumbtack is the app that makes it easier to care for your home. Pull out your phone and in just a few taps, search, chat, and book highly rated pros right in your neighborhood. Download Thumbtack and start caring for your home the easier way.
Getting the smile and confidence you've been dreaming about, all from the comfort of your home, isn't a total mystery with Bite clear aligners. Just don't be surprised if all your friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Bite clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Hello, Jim Caruso. What a pleasure to see you.
Hello, Tom Alvarez. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing really well. The last time I laid eyes on you, you and Billy Stretch were at Feinstein's at Hotel Carmichael in Indianapolis. Boy,
That's right.
that was like May of last year. So I'm sure you remember
Yeah,
it.
it's
Do
been a
you
while.
not? Yeah. So what was that experience like for our listeners who missed that?
Listen, for the past, how long has it been? Billy Stritch and I have been doing Cast Party at Birdland for now going on to our 22nd year. Right after it started to become kind of a success in New York, we started taking it on the road. In the bigger cities like LA and Las Vegas, and then we started it really caught on, and we started taking it everywhere we possibly could. Anywhere that's interested in Cast Party, that's where we take it. So to come to that gorgeous room, Carmichael's in Carmel, is just a joy. That hotel is beautiful. We just had a ball.
So are you still taking the show out and about?
Absolutely. That's what we do. We are at Birdland every Monday, and then maybe once a month, maybe once every other month, depending on what's happening, we take it on the road. Our next Cast Party on the road is in London at the end of September. Then we do Los Angeles, Palm Springs, Las Vegas. Then, we'll go to your house, frankly. We love doing it so much. We love celebrating local talent. And when I say local talent, I hate the way that sounds, because believe me, the talent that we meet, whether it's in Los Angeles or Cleveland or Dallas, is so extraordinary. It's so top notch that it's silly to call it local talent. But for the listeners, you know what I mean. The talent in whatever city we are in at the moment, it becomes local talent to us, and we get to meet all of these people.
Jim, does it become a blur after a while, all the places you've been where you've done this stuff? But do you have any good stories about people who stood out and they went on to do incredible things?
Yes.
You've discovered a lot of people, haven't you?
Oh, well, we've met a lot of people on their way up, that's for sure. A fabulous little 13-year-old girl used to come in and sing Aretha Franklin songs with us, Ariana Grande.
Oh my goodness.
A great 15-year-old boy used to come in and sit at the piano and sing his original tunes, Charlie Puth. We just never know who's going to come in and then, become a mega global superstar. But it has certainly happened. And those two specifically stand out as two kids that came in and we were like, what the heck is going on with this immense talent? And of course, they both now rule the world.
So let's go back for our listeners, though, who may not be familiar with Cast Party. Talk about its genesis and when did you begin in New York at the Birdland?
Well, we started at Birdland 22 years ago now, but we did it a year before that at a place called the King Kong Room, which was, believe me, none of this was meant to be. I did not go into this thinking I was going to host an open mic night variety show as a career move. I don't even know if that is a career, but we found out that there was a need. There was a yearning for this kind of thing. Who knew that all the performers in town would want to sing on their day off from doing 8 shows a week? So we've been doing it ever since. It just became my great joy, and to do it with Billy Stritch, who is, as you know, one of the greatest piano players and accompanists in the world. Played for Liza Minnelli for 30 years, played for Tony Bennett, plays for Marilyn May, Linda
Lavin.
Eder.
Well, okay.
Linda Lavin, Linda Eder.
Yes.
He's out right now with Laura Benanti. I mean, just the greatest in the world. So these people have the opportunity to sing with the greatest musicians in the world in some of the best venues on the planet. And, we didn't do it on purpose. It just kind of happened by accident, and it was a very happy accident.
And how did you happen? Did you choose them or did they choose you, Birdland?
Well, we were doing it in a venue that closed, and somebody mentioned it to the owner of Birdland, and he called me and said, I want to talk to you. He has a very good speaking voice, believe me, for a New York club owner. And so I went over and we talked for a while, and he said everything I've ever wanted to hear. He said, if I book you on every single Monday, you're going to be here every single Monday. We're going to get calls from other jazz performers that want the night. I don't want to hear about it. It's you. It's your night. So that's something I'd always wanted to hear. So it's been a great working relationship in one of the greatest music rooms in the world.
Well, it certainly has longevity, that's for sure, and it has not, except if you, I don't know if you remember this, but I've interviewed you several times, and I think one of the most interesting was during COVID, and when you were doing this, cyber version, and even then, you guys went through the roof, and didn't you like gather a international audience?
We did. That was crazy. We did 82 episodes of a show called Pajama Cast Party because most of the performers came to us via, not Zoom, but like Zoom. It was a live stream platform. And they came to us from their homes, their houses, their apartments, their backyards. And they sang with guitars, and they sang with audio tracks, and they sang, if they played piano, they played piano. Kristen Chenoweth sang a cappella. It didn't matter. We were just out to entertain all the people that were stuck at home during such a sad, anxiety-ridden time. And it just brought me back to life after a very sad beginning of a pandemic. And I worked all the way through the pandemic doing
I
what I
re-
always do. And
I remember that, and I was really stricken with the knowledge that these people needed to perform. They needed that outlet that you created, did they not?
I think they did. And they also needed to feel like they were entertaining people. They were
Mhm.
soothing people during a very tragic, awful time. I think the joy went both ways.
Yeah. Now, looking back, doesn't it seem like it was a burr when we were in it? It was achingly slow, but looking back on it, it's like a blip. I mean, it's hard to fathom. Human nature, I guess, We all
I know.
thought
I
the
think we.
world had changed forever. There was going to be kindness abounding and
Oh
no more
yes,
whatever.
exactly.
And, now we're
Wait,
all
didn't that
back to,
happen?
yeah, I'm
Didn't that
sorry.
happen?
Yeah,
Didn't
yeah.
that happen?
I always thought there would be, and I know that there have been a few, and maybe they're in development or people are still tweaking their stories, their scripts. I thought there'd be a COVID musical by now, but no, I mean, you haven't really
Oh
seen all
Lord.
them. Maybe people don't want to think about it for a while or
I
haven't
think it might be true. I think give it some time. It's like did the people that lived through the depression probably didn't want to see a movie about the depression
yeah,
after the depression. So it took a few years to
sure.
kind of we needed a palate cleanser.
And I remember we talked again at some point, another interview where you told me what it was like. And, covering the arts, I talked to a lot of people. It was an exciting time when people came back to the theater, and it was very emotional. A lot of performers I've seen in cabaret shows, at Feinstein's and the other cabaret, which you performed here, Shannon Purcell's cabaret. Uh,
Absolutely. We did our
they,
Christmas show there.
yeah,
So
and
fun.
I saw that show. I've seen you everywhere where you played at Indy, including the Palladium. You
Oh,
performed at
yes.
the Palladium. You were at the Songbook Academy. You were a mentor. I've seen you at the cabaret at the Columbia Club. Yeah, I've known you a long time. So, but
I get
anyway,
around.
yeah, I know you do. So, Jim, speaking of Songbook Academy, it starts next week, you know, and I remember when you were a mentor. What was that like for you? And of course, you're a longtime friend of Michael Feinstein, so he asked you to participate, correct?
He did. I think I did that 2 years in a row. It was absolutely thrilling. And I've always told Michael, I mean, he's the Great American Songbook's best friend. He performs constantly, conducting, singing, playing, creating, putting shows together. But to me, the longevity of his name will be in the wonderful talent that he has mentored through the ages. Those kids are turning into adults, and some of them obviously are adults from the from when he started. And his thoughtful and intelligent and entertaining education that he's giving those people is long lasting. And I'm so proud of him, the work he does, and I was so proud to be a part of it.
Well, you just validated what many of our locals don't know about that program, the Songbook Academy and how it's really extraordinary. But I guess that's not entirely correct because the final performance is often sold out now. People have
Great.
discovered it. Also the master
Well,
class and the showcase. They now have a showcase where every kid in that program gets to come on stage and sing a song. So
right.
it
And
really, go
the
ahead.
good news is so many of those kids stay in touch with me. And when they move to New York, come to see us at Cast Party. So, and perform, of course. So to watch Nick Ziobro, who he won one of the years that I was there. he's just an incredible talent, and I mean, they're all great.
Yeah.
It was hard when we were judging to decide who should win because they were all amazing. It's like
You,
Miss America. There's not a there's not a lousy one in the bunch. They're all talented and all beautiful and all terrific.
you know,
But
it's
that
no
year he
longer,
won.
it's no longer a competition. You knew that, right?
I did know that. Yes.
Yeah, and but it doesn't lessen the they compete with themselves, I guess is a good way to
I
say it.
think that's great. I
Yeah.
think that's great. These competition shows, i.e., American Idol, The Voice, all of those things. I certainly understand the reasoning, and it's fun. It's necessary to get the world's audience involved and clicking and voting and
Do
all
you
that stuff.
agree?
But
Do you agree? Like I've heard from many critics about it, though, that it's not really about talent. It's more. It's just they want to make good TV. The so-called
well, I
backstory.
mean, of course they want to make good TV. That's they would be silly not to want to make good TV, and I think it is good TV. Um, is it always a, about the talent? Maybe not. I think the people that are on there are, of course, very talented. They wouldn't have gotten
Mhm.
there without that. But it would be silly to think that it's not about good television. Got the Voice and all of those things. How many years have they been running? It is really about good business.
Now, it, you would know if anybody would about sort of the psychology behind the cast party concept or open mic. What is it that draws people to it?
I've thought about it a lot because it's what I do. Uh, Cast Party is, I mean, for those who might not know, is literally an open mic night. But because of the quality of the rooms we play, because of the quality of the accompaniment that we have, Billy Stritch at the piano. Here in town, we have a brilliant bass and drum player, just top-notch musicians. The people who come in are usually not just off the street. They're pros, almost pros, icons, and it's a loose, very unscripted, improvisational, very alive show. We never know who's going to be there. We never know what's going to happen. So why are they there? I think they're there for many reasons. If they're an old pro, they want to hang with their community. The showbiz community is very tight. The icons want to meet the new up-and-comers. The up-and-comers want to meet the icons. Also, there's a see and be seen quality to it, which
Are
is
there
always fun.
are there are there agents there as well? People in the business?
Oh, yes.
Decision makers.
There are absolutely decision makers. We certainly have casting people. And some of those casting people, even if they're not there every week, call me and say, or text me and say, looking for a 15-year-old girl, funny, gawky, kooky. Do you know anybody? Do I know anybody? I know 20 people like that. So that's a joy, and that's thrilling to think that I could be part of helping somebody's career. But yes, there have been songwriters. Stephen Schwartz has come in many times, and I saw this one guy get up and sing. He was a tenor, young, good-looking tenor. He was singing. As he was done, he walked off left stage. Stephen came from the other side, and they met midway, and Stephen got him an audition for Wicked to do what's the guy's name? The Fiyero,
Sure.
because the kid was a perfect Fiyero. So there have absolutely been careers that have been helped along by being seen. And that's really what it's all about, being seen, getting out in the world. You don't move to New York to be in show business and stay in your apartment.
Sure.
You got to get out. You got to meet people. You got to grow your community. And it doesn't mean schmoozing. Like, schmoozing has such a bad reputation, I think. It's like people with business cards and, hey, how you doing?
But do
just being there.
But do you individually, do you yourself get schmooze outside the club? Do you have people handing you tapes and business cards or stuff when you're out shopping or whatever, walking around?
Not so much that, but when I'm working, absolutely, and that's cool. I mean, I would do that if I was 21 years old and had a new demo. I had a cassette demo tape. I would give it to me. I gave that thing to anybody that blinked. So you do what you do. You never know.
Well, that's
who's
good to
gonna
know.
listen to that thing.
I know a lot of people sort of get perturbed when that happens to them, in the business.
Well, sorry. Sorry. That's too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that our job?
I'm off the clock, I'm off the clock attitude, that kind of thing, so.
Please. I have worked with some of the biggest stars on the planet, and they would laugh at that kind of behavior. I have never seen a really successful person with that kind of an attitude.
Do you think people,
whether they're in a restaurant, that's just crazy to me.
Jim, do you think people in the entertainment world who have achieved success forget where they came from, what it was like to get started? I often wonder, and you've certainly been around a lot of big names. Do they remember what it was like, and they go out of their way to help younger performers and aren't threatened by their youth or their whatever?
Everybody I know, or everybody I hang out with, I'll put it that way, is supportive and thrilled to meet up and comers. I think if they weren't that kind of a personality, I wouldn't be hanging out with them.
Yeah.
I mean, of course there are people like that in the world, but there are shoe salesmen like that. There are, people that sell water pumps that are like that aren't supportive of their colleagues. So yes, I'm sure there are lots of people like that, but the people that I choose to love and hang out with are a great mix of grit and glamour and energy and inspiration and support of the next generation.
If there's anybody who knows everybody in show business, you would certainly be in that group. I mean, you and all the talk show hosts, because they
truly.
all...
I mean, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do more than anything in the world. That's the part of Pajama Cast Party that I really loved, is that we had time to chat. I got to learn about so many different kinds of people and performers and writers and, actors and things that we don't always get to do at Cast Party, because it's pretty much like, hey, where are you from? What are you going to sing?
Yeah.
But I do love the idea.
You don't get to, quote, interview them and
not as much. And I love that.
Yeah. Well, you certainly could do it,
Well, I love working without a script. That's just organic banter, which is really what Cast Party is all about. It's 3 hours of musical fun and nonsense. Listen, this thing is not going to win a Peabody Award. It is not changing the world, but it's as I said, celebrating talent, young.
Well, you remind me a lot of a big influence on me, and and I think that's why I love having the platforms I do. Just the opportunity to, to get inside the brains of entertainers, performers, actors, dancers, whatever, And you know where
It's
I
true. And
learned,
I didn't know I cared. I didn't
I
know I
learned,
cared about that.
I learned it from growing up in the 50s and watching Ed Sullivan, you know.
Absolutely.
Or not, I
Ed
don't mean,
Sullivan,
well, Ed Sullivan is where I saw the performance. I mean like Michael Douglas and all those, all those
Mike
people who
Douglas.
would talk shows.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike
And
Douglas,
and who are some of
Merv
the
Griffin,
others? Yeah.
Dick Cavett.
Yeah.
Merv was great. Merv
Merv
would
and
get
his
right in.
Merv and his interviews with Zsa Zsa were always fabulous.
Hilarious. Well, that was the thing about those talk shows, is that they would have artists or personalities come on and just talk because they were funny and interesting. Now, talk shows are so motivated by, again, the dollar, which I understand because it's so
Sure.
expensive, that it has to be a big star. They come on, they talk for 4 minutes, they show a clip, they're out.
Oh
There's
yeah.
no sitting and talking to characters like Zsa Zsa or I remember Linda Lavin would come on the Merv Griffin show and sit and play the piano and then sing a song with the band and then talk to Merv for 20 minutes. And it was, you really got to know people.
Yeah. Well, don't you think that's consistent with generally, there's a lot of talk right now about technology. The iPhone has changed people's attention span. And it seems like the same thing's happening, on talk shows, for instance, except if
I
they're
do.
huge. I recently I listened to Kelly, uh, uh, and
Ripa.
no, I'm sorry, I'm Kelly Clarkson, and she
Oh, yes.
and she, sometimes they keep the people on the couch for like, 20 minutes, but they have to be like big, 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 big in the stratosphere. But
That's a long time in
most,
television. 20
most get
minutes.
like, most get like, 3-minute segments to plug their movie or their book, and then they're out of there. But,
Yes.
but
Yes.
so it's
20
always interesting.
minutes. 20 minutes is an eternity in television. I worked in TV production. I was a producer on 2 different talk shows. 20 minutes is an eternity. And
Uh-huh.
you go into the 15 minutes, and the producers will say, "We hear the clickers, there are flashes coming off the clickers." They get very nervous. And while I'm sure Kelly, knowing her, so many of my friends are regulars on her show. She wants to talk to people.
Oh,
She
you
is
can tell.
fascinated by people, and
Mhm.
she's so good.
Mhm.
But I'm sure the producers are like, keep it going, keep it
Has
going.
she come into your club yet? And
No, but my friend Lawrence Zarian is on her show almost every week.
yeah.
And he has promised me that has invited her, that she knows about it. I've met her in passing. I'm like,
She
please,
keeps she keeps talking about how much she loves New York,
she does. I think
Mhm.
she's really happy here. She looks like a whole other person for
Oh my
what that's
God.
worth. She
Yeah.
looks she looks happy. I think she's really enjoying this city. But Kelly needs to get out and come to Birdland.
Yeah.
Kelly, if you're watching, if you're listening, we need you at Cast Party.
Well, that's going to be great when she walks into that door. I mean, that must be really fun for you and Billy to sit there and that, oh my God, look who's walking through the door. I mean, Did Cheetah
Absolutely.
how many times did Cheetah show up?
Oh, dozens
Mhm.
of times.
Mhm.
Cheetah Rivera was, first of all, a great friend of mine. And that's just an enormous loss, not just to me, to the
Mhm.
entire Broadway and show business community. Nobody was more supportive. Nobody was more fun. Nobody was a better audience member, screaming at me from the audience. Just the most fun. We miss Cheetah like crazy.
So, uh, what I don't know much about you other than what's in your official bio, but you mentioned working in TV. I guess I knew that, but tell me about your background. And for those listeners who don't know you. I'd really like to hear about your training and where you grew up, all that stuff.
Well, it feels like it's 80 billion years ago now, but I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My parents were musicians and taught music in the local schools. And I started doing musical theater very young, community theater and semi-professional theater in Pittsburgh. Then we moved to Dallas, Texas, where I continued to do theater and finally get involved in professional theater. I wasn't getting a lot of roles because I was at that age when all my friends were getting jobs in the chorus of national companies. I was tall and skinny and didn't look like those dancer singers. So I wasn't getting a lot of roles. So I decided to put together a nightclub act. And that's how all of that started. So I had a duo, I had a trio. We worked all over the country. And the trio was called Wise Guys. We started working in New York a lot, which is what brought me here permanently. And in 1990. And most of my career has been spent in nightclubs. I did leave the business for a minute and get involved in television production. I worked on a TV show in LA called Jim J and Tammy Faye, starring Jim J. Bullock and Tammy Faye Baker. It was a talk show, and it had the time of my life. It wasn't a successful talk show, but I certainly had a good time. I came back to New York and worked on a talk show called Fox After Breakfast with Tom Bergeron, which was an awfully good show. He's the greatest guy in the world. And I really missed performing. I would get up at the crack of dawn. Literally, it was dark out to get to the studio to do this morning show. I would come home after the sun went down, and I had no life to perform or to even see shows. So when that show ended, I decided I wanted to start singing again, which I did. And that turned into this craziness that I do now.
Mm. So
that was a nutshell.
Yeah. By the way, I just saw I keep track of you on Facebook, and recently I saw that you performed at Carnegie Hall and Follies, and I just took a look at the tape, the YouTube video of you and is it Clea Blackhurst?
Clea Blackhurst, yeah,
Blackhurst, yes. And oh, tell me about it. Tell me about that whole experience.
You know, I mean, I started doing theater. That's how I started as a kid. Then to move to New York and get involved in the club scene, really ensconced and all of that. But theater really took a back seat. I don't know if theater cared or not, but it did. I finally got to be on Broadway with Liza Minnelli in a show called Liza's at the Palace. That ran at the Palace for a month and a half. So that was kind of my dipping my toe back into the theater. Then this thing happened. I got a call from the Transport Group, which is a wonderful theater company here in town. They were putting together a fundraiser at Carnegie Hall, a concert version of Sondheim's Follies. And they asked me to sing one song with one of my best friends in the world, Clea Blackhurst. And we did it 2 weeks ago. The show sold out in like record time, in like a half an hour. And the cast was Jennifer Holliday, Christine Ebersole, I'm thinking Norm Lewis. It was a star-studded event. And to be part of that, are you kidding me? With a 30-piece orchestra?
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Had you performed previously at Carnegie?
Yes, believe it or not, that was my 8th time on Carnegie Hall has 3 stages. There's the big, huge stage. I've performed on the big stage 4 times, and on the 2 smaller stages 4 other times. So I've been there 8 times total, but 4 times on the big old wampum stage.
Mm-hmm. Are you doing your besides cast party out and about around the country? Are you also doing your own act any longer?
Yeah, Billy. Well, I mean, yes, Billy and I sing at Bemelman's at the
Oh,
Carlisle
yes,
Hotel
that's right. I saw
here in New
that
York
too. Yes.
every Sunday
And for
from
those who
9
don't know,
to
tell us,
midnight.
for those who don't know, what is Bellman's?
Well, I mean, the Carlisle Hotel is the most ravishing, elegant boutique hotel on the Upper East Side. It's been there since, I don't know, 100 years. And music has always been a big part of the hotel. It went from classical to jazz to the Great American Songbook, thanks to Bobby Short, who was there for decades in the Cafe Carlisle. Right across the hall from the Cafe Carlisle is Bemelman's, which is the most glamorous watering hole you will ever see in your life. The artist Ludwig Bemelmans has painted the murals on the walls. The ceiling is gold leaf, so everybody just glows all night. And we sing 3 hours every Sunday for, honestly, a glamorous, wonderful, fun, young now group of people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how long have you been performing there with Billy?
13 years.
Wow. So
I don't leave a job. You'll notice that I don't leave a job. Once I get a job, I'm there till they ask me to leave, basically.
what does Jim Caruso do in his downtime? It doesn't sound like you have much, but what do you like to do? And by the way, I have to note, for those listening, we're on a Zoom call, and I presume you're in your quintessential Manhattan apartment. Where are you? What part of town? I love the books. I love everything in the background.
Thanks.
I see a
Oh, good.
piano. Yeah, I see
You do
some
see a
really,
piano.
what are those wonderful prints up there on the wall? Assortment of
Um,
things?
what, this way?
Yeah, yeah,
Am I turning it the right way?
yeah. What
No,
are,
now I've lost where I am. Lots of books, lots of great, wonderful art. It's quite a collection.
mm-hmm,
Um, there are one of my favorite artists in the world, Joe Eula, who did the
mm-hmm.
famous Liza poster, very scrawly. He was a fashion illustrator, and I've collected some of his work. I have an original Hirschfeld on the wall. I
Oh, you
have an
do.
original Tommy Tune sketch of Carol Channing. I mean, how could I not have that? Um, what else do I have? Oh,
So,
some just random stuff.
so what side of town do you live on?
I live on the Upper West Side.
Oh, of course. Why didn't I know that already? And how long have you been? Well, there's so many theater people who live up there, right? How
Yeah,
far away do you
yeah.
live near Lincoln Center?
Well, I would say Lincoln Center is about 7 blocks away.
Okay, okay. And how long have you lived in your place, if I may ask?
Oh, you don't want to ask. It's like 30 years. I've been here
Okay.
forever.
Yeah.
I am a
Right.
creature of habit. I think we're
Yeah.
learning this.
Is it rent controlled? You've been paying like,
No, I bought it. I bought
okay,
it.
okay.
Oh,
Well,
I don't
smart
know how
man.
people move here. Like, who knew? Who knew I was
Uh-huh.
that smart?
And
But no.
what's your neighborhood like?
Oh, the
Do you have a
neighborhood is
you have a
fantastic. I'm
you have a
right by Central Park.
bodega? You have a bodega on the corner and
Of course I do.
the whole New York
I'm
thing?
right by Central Park. I'm
Hmm.
right by the Dakota apartments. I'm,
Okay.
I'm right by every subway. It's the handiest place in the world. I can be at Birdland in
Yeah.
10 minutes.
So do you go to a lot of shows?
Yeah. Um, I go to a lot of shows.
Not just
I go to a
not
lot of Broadway.
do you also are you also an opera fan, a ballet fan as well? Symphony?
You know, I enjoy opera, ballet, and the symphony. It's not sadly on the top of my list because there's so much. I have so many friends in the Broadway scene and in the nightclub scene and in the jazz scene that I rarely get to do some of the really swell classical stuff that I know I should be doing, and it's
Mhm.
just a few blocks away.
Sure, sure. Well, yeah, so and I you said it, you have a lot of friends in show business. So how do you divvy them
I
all
do.
up? I mean, how do you spend time with them? And there's so many. I mean, how do you choose who you're going to hang out with?
Well,
It's organic.
I mean, you know as well as I do. You have friends, I'm
Yeah,
doing air quotes, and then you have friends.
yeah,
Um, I've hung out with the same people for 40 years, basically.
yeah.
I mean, really hang out. Billy Stritch is my BFF since we both lived in Texas. We've known each other over 40 years.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, I have some really good long-term friends. And then, as you know, other people kind of make cameos in your life and they
Sure.
come and go and back and forth. And when they're in town, we hang out and we're best friends all over again. But I feel very enriched by the quantity and quality of friends that I have here and all across the country.
Jim, what do you consider a friend? Of a friend versus a quote friend.
Hmm. I mean, a real friend is someone that you call and ask them to pick you up when you get a colonoscopy. A real friend,
That's a
you
good
might
one.
cut that out.
No,
Um,
no,
you know, you
I'm
don't
keeping
ask
that one.
yeah, you don't ask a vague acquaintance to do something like that. You know, when something really great happens, that's who you call. When something really sad happens, that's who you call. The people who are, you know, it's your family, it's your chosen family. Um, those are those are real friends. People you can trust, people that you know won't make fun of you for feeling a certain way, or maybe
Mhm.
they will, which is what gets you through a certain thing. But you know, the people that bring support and love and happiness to your life.
May I ask, do you share your life with anyone?
I don't. I
How
share
did
my
that
life
happen?
with my public. Oh, that was a joke, by the way, because
Yeah.
that sounds so creepy. So creepy. Um, no, I mean, I have a great bunch of really good friends, and I know a lot of people here in town that are in kind of the same boat.
Hmm.
We haven't found like a life mate
Hmm.
yet. I'm always
Hmm.
looking.
Hmm. Do you believe in love? The
Oh,
concept of love?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What? I'm sorry. What kind of love?
No, no, just the idea of love, if anything, you do believe in it. You're a
Oh
romantic.
God,
Well, you wouldn't be a
I
romantic
am a
if you,
romantic,
yeah, you
and
wouldn't be.
I would sound so creepy to say I don't believe in love. Who would say that?
Yeah. So,
That was be the quote
yeah.
of the podcast. Jim
Well,
Caruso does not believe in love.
I don't know. There are some who think that actors and artists aren't stable, that yeah, you need to find somebody if you're in showbiz, you need to find somebody who's like, an accountant or a lawyer or someone who's
Ugh,
stable.
I am, I am, I think I'm as stable as it gets. Now, some people might argue that. Um, but for a person who has a very weird career, I've been able to pay my bills for decades. And that in itself is the miracle of show business.
Well, I think I was very impressed during COVID at how, you turned it into a successful business. I mean,
who knew?
people
Who knew
made
that was a
people
thing?
you had a tip jar,
Yes.
the people donated money, and I mean, I talked to a lot of performers who said we did really well, and I think Billy Stritch told me the same thing. He had a tip
Billy
jar
did really
going, and
well.
yeah, and
He
people were
did.
able to maintain their lifestyles. But
I mean, I know a lot of people.
but the internet
I
made
know a
them
lot of people that had to move back home to their parents,
Oh
or
my goodness.
move out of town, or move, which is tragic. We can't lose good talent no matter where we are. We
Do you
don't
think
want them
we've already, do
to
you think
give up.
have audiences come back in New York or everywhere you've been around the country?
Absolutely. We reopened at Birdland, I don't know, is it 3 years ago? As soon as we could, as soon as it was legal to reopen, Birdland reopened. Our first cast party was the first show that came back. It was on a Monday. I hired a marching band. We had red, white, and blue balloons. It was Independence Day Monday. So the place was festooned with red, white, and blue balloons, marching band, the most incredible show. People walked in and started to weep. That it was very emotional. It sounds silly now because we're used to it again.
Telling me that.
It was an unbelievable experience, and it was packed. There were people in masks, there were people wearing rubber gloves, but whatever it took, they started to come back in. And the place, for the most part, has been jam-packed ever since. Not just for cast party, for other other concerts and events at Birdland. That being said, I know the Broadway community has taken a bit longer, and
Why
partly
is that?
well, I think it's many reasons. It's a $300 ticket, a $400 ticket. You're sitting 2 inches from somebody you don't know. So if you're edgy about the air that you're breathing, even at this point, with all the vaccines, I think some people are perhaps frightened. Travel is not pleasant in any way. Air travel is not glamorous. And I think coming to New York is maybe a pain sometimes. So I think all of that are reasons that the Broadway scene is struggling a little bit more than the nightclub scene. Who knew nightclubs would be, the place to be right now?
Why is that? Why is that the nightclub scene?
Well,
And
because
we're speaking of cabaret, of course, as well as part of that.
well, no, we're speaking of any nightclub. It's at Birdland, our tickets are $30, $40, $50. There's a $20 food drink minimum. So you can get out of there for, I don't know, $50, $60 each, as opposed to going to the theater, which is, I don't know how people can afford to go see all the shows they want to go see, which to me is really sad. And how do you take your kids to the theater if the tickets are $300? Come on.
Well, the tourists do that, don't they?
I mean, it depends. It depends on the show.
But they like save all year
I guess.
it's
I guess
intentional.
yeah. I mean, they have to really want to go to the theater, but it means that you don't take chances seeing new up and coming artists and
Yeah.
new writers and new musicals. And you go, well, should we go see Chicago again, or should we go see this weird play downtown? You go see Chicago because you know what's going to happen, and you know it's going
So,
to be great.
so that leads me to a question. Since you get around in terms of like, going around the country, so it's like, you have a pretty general knowledge about how it's going out there in the hinterlands. Uh,
Maybe.
and what is your impression of entertainment in general around the country and some of the markets you visit, like
Well,
Indianapolis?
right. Say Indianapolis. Before I started Cast Party, I think it was in my head that all the really great talent is either in New York City or Los Angeles or Las Vegas. I could not have been more incorrect. A lot of people don't want to live in those three cities. A lot of people have lives in Indianapolis, St. Louis, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Austin. I'm trying to think of all the places we've done Cast Party. Orlando. Brilliant talent. And that means they're doing brilliant work. They're doing brilliant theater and wonderful nightclub acts and wonderful concerts all over the place. And I think that's been, if I could say I've learned anything during my time hosting Cast Party, it would be that there's extraordinary talent all over the place.
Well, that's really good to hear from my point of view, because I happen to think too that, there's art being done everywhere in this country. And you can't use New York anymore as the arbiter of what's good and what's not.
I see a lot of really, well, do I want to say that? I see some stuff here in New York that's not great. Just because it's on this island doesn't mean.
But Jim, that's the impression that
it's brilliant.
That is the impression a lot of people still have, though, this kind of snobbery. Well, if you were any good, you would be in New York or Chicago, that sort of thing. And it's just not true from my point of view.
It's not true.
And it's good to hear someone like you validate. And by the way, one of the joys I have having this podcast, it has the potential to be heard because of the internet. I'm on the internet. And people anywhere in the world can listen to this, and they do. I get these analytics, and there are people in Africa, Zimbabwe, listening to this show. So I love to shine a spotlight on Indy as this being one of many, 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 many places in this country and I love to hear you say that. What was your impression of Indianapolis? Did you go to any restaurants? Did you walk around Carmel or Indianapolis? Because you performed in the area.
Yeah, Carmel, Indiana is like this little oasis. I don't know so much about what's right around that area, but boy, you step into that little circle there and it's swell. Beautiful homes, I mean, that theater is extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
The
Palladium, most performers, all the performers I've seen, big people, they always comment on that house. Many of you even compare it to the Carnegie Hall in terms of its acoustics.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. And also the architect, I believe, is the same architect that did the Smith Center in Las Vegas, which is our all-time favorite. I shouldn't say that. One of our all-time favorite places to perform. The Smith Center is just a miracle in technical and visual know-how. It's just beautiful. And I think it's the same designer.
So, Jim, have you any plans on, is it on your, when are you coming back to Hotel Carmichael? Tell me soon.
I don't know. I'll say soon, not because I know, but because I hope. We always have such a great time there. And Everybody call all the venues and ask when cast party's coming.
Well, I'm using this to put a bee in the bonnet of Derek, the booker at Feinstein's, because I'd love to see you bring that
Yes,
show back. A lot of people missed it because they just didn't know about it, your
I
show. And I remember you reached
I
out to me,
understand.
and I didn't follow up, but you asked me if I knew any people I could, send your way. And I did, and I don't know what happened, but I did know quite a few people that did show up and signed up actually. And I mean, you don't go that far but some of those people I happen to know, actually lived in New York and performed in New York, but you didn't know that. So that was interesting that you had some high
Great,
caliber
great.
people there. Yeah.
Oh, always,
I think
always.
were you there for 2 nights or 3 nights? I don't remember.
Yeah, we did either 2 or 3 nights. And boy, staying in that beautiful hotel,
Mhm.
that was a pleasure.
What did you like about it? That
Well,
hotel.
gosh, first of all the artwork is music related. There, I think Michael Feinstein and his partner Terrence Flannery helped in creating the room. Certainly,
Hmm.
the Feinstein's room, a beautiful room, and I don't know, it was just so chic, and the service was great, and the food was great, and there's a
Well,
wonderful
well,
little bar in the lobby that's absolutely beautiful.
did you hang out there after your shows?
Yeah, we did. We did because there were always cool people walking in and out of the hotel. And then on Sunday, I know there was a drag brunch, which looked
Oh my God.
absolutely hilarious. So sold out, we couldn't even get in.
And
So
you had a drag performer the night of cast party that I saw. Do you remember that?
we did. She did a great Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Have you had many drag artists show up at cast party?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean,
Has it
they're not
become me?
drag artists that. Oh yeah, drag is totally mainstream now,
Yeah,
thanks to RuPaul and the
I
success
was
of
just
that
gonna,
show.
I'm always throwing that around, and I'm sort of like in just anecdotally, I can see it all the time,
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's
Um,
the only thing I wonder about it is that in a way, it's changed the culture, in a way. It used to be more outlaw and more edgy, and now it's just kind of like, family oriented. I never thought
it
I'd live
is.
to see the day, you know?
It's kind of true. It's a lot of what do you call those parties when brides and their friends get together? What's that called? You know, like a bunch of young girls, the girls about to get married.
Oh
Tell me what
yeah.
that's called.
Yeah, you talk to a lot of gay men and they complain that they've taken over the bars and they don't like it. They don't like it one
Sorry, sorry.
bit.
You're mainstream now.
Well,
We
I
can't
mean,
help it.
you can't have it both ways, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And
Well,
now you asked if we get dragged at cast party. We don't get dragged at lip syncs because
of
it's an
course.
acoustic. There's a band, but if you sing, if you Jinx Monsoon has been in, who is just an enormous hit and is currently starring in Chicago on Broadway. Jinx has come in.
Really?
Miss Coco Peru, who is of course a genius monologist, has been in, and I book Coco at Birdland a lot. So yeah,
So
oh
yeah,
no, we're big fans of.
there's a lot of fluidity these days, and not only transgender. I'm speaking of like Alex Newell, for instance. Has he been in the cast
Yeah.
party? Yeah.
Oh yeah, has he been to Cast Party? He's been to Birdland quite a bit. I feel like he's been to Cast Party. Yeah, yeah,
He came to Indianapolis, which is that's a little new for people, but he played the cabaret here, but no one
yeah.
knew anything about
Right.
him, and he blew people away. And
Well, that's the thing.
they had to paper the house though to get people in because no one knew anything about him. But once they found
Well, but
out, it's like,
that's less about Alex and more about PR.
right.
Basically, if just because you're a Broadway star in these few blocks around me doesn't mean people in the rest of the country are going to know your name. But once they see you, if they just give these cabarets and music rooms a chance, and if they
Right.
start to trust the room, then they know whatever they see is going to be terrific,
And
and
then
they're
he
going to have the
went,
time of their lives.
it tickled me to see then just a couple years later, he went on to, is it Chuck, and just blew everybody
Yeah,
away. Yeah. Was he
yeah.
a nominee? A
No, he's
nominee? Did he win a
yeah. I
Tony?
believe yes, he was nominated. I don't
Yeah.
think he didn't win, but he was nominated.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
he's amazing. That voice is crazy.
you've been really generous with your time, and I deeply appreciate it. And I love the fact that you reach out to me, and I'm happy to promote anything you've got going, do you
Oh,
have
that's so nice.
what do you have coming up anyway that you want to talk about besides
Well, as I
cast
said,
party or whatever?
well, come to Birdland. I book all kinds of great people at Birdland. We are at Bemelman's every Sunday at the Carlisle Hotel. We have a Christmas album. It's not too Christmas
No.
in July, people. Christmas in July. We have a fabulous Christmas album, and
You
we'll be
and
doing that
Billy,
Christmas show.
you and
Me and
Billy?
Billy and Clea Blackhurst
Oh,
and
wow.
Dave Koz on sax and Donny Osmond doing some vocals, and it's a really fun album called
When is it
Christmas at
released?
Birdland. Oh, it was released a few years ago.
Okay.
It's
All right. Okay.
No, I'm just thinking of what we have coming up. That's our Christmas show at Birdland for our 15th year.
Okay.
We'll be doing
How
that Christmas
how
week.
about your memoir? When is that coming out?
Ah, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
Or
I know too much.
someone should be doing a documentary on Cast Party. I think that would be fun.
I love that idea. My question is always, I think it would be interesting, less about how it's about me or the band or the
Right.
venue, but more about what brings this talent to us week after week. What do people go through? Are they at home slaving over what to sing,
I agree.
practicing? What am I going
I
to wear? I
I
think that would be
agree.
really fun.
The backstories again,
Yes,
that's what makes American Idol and The Voice so successful. Those stories, but their personal
that's
stories,
right.
and
That's right.
why they seek that kind of attention, or why do they seek that kind of? Is it validation? Is it rejection? What is it? What is it that
Well,
wants them to
they don't
put
get
them?
rejected at Cast Party. I hope they don't feel rejected at Cast Party, because
How do
that's a thing that I want to. The audience at Cast Party is 100% positive. There is never get her off the stage, boo. That would
Has that
never
ever happened
happen.
though? Has that ever happened to you?
Never, never, ever.
And you wouldn't
And
put
I
up
think
with
it's
it. You wouldn't put up with
no.
it, would you, if it happened?
I would ask that person to either clam up or leave the place, because that is not what we are about. This is
Yeah.
a positive. I want this night to be positive for people. These performers put themselves on the line, not to sound like a chorus line, but they have literally put themselves on the line for us.
And
Whether
you know
they're
what?
great,
What would be great in that documentary would be to, after people appeared there, and how life-changing it was. Because I'm sure there have been people, they will never forget it.
well, I hope so. And there's a huge social aspect to what we do, both for us personally and for the audience. The getting ready, the eating and drinking when you get there, the performance itself, the schmoozing afterwards. It becomes a real emotional outlet for people, and I'm including myself, but I know it is for the performers that show up. And you know, listen, what could sound like a weird showbiz adjacent side gig has come to mean so much to me personally.
Well,
It's
obviously,
almost like community service, almost. It's
well,
not to sound altruistic, but I love it very, very much.
I believe it is your calling and your purpose. So
Who knew?
It's a wonderful thing. Well, again, thank you so much. It's great seeing you, even if it's Zoom. And I have a New York trip coming up, and I hope I can stop by and say hello.
Please do. You know where we are.
Okay. Well, have a great rest of your day, and maybe Derek is listening to this, and maybe he'll bring you back sooner than later. Okay, well, you take care.
Well, we love it there, and we can't wait to come back. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, thank you.
Our thanks go out to our media sponsor, Urban Times. Urban Times is a monthly news magazine which serves as the official neighborhood newsletter for 16 Indianapolis neighborhoods, offering news about development, arts and entertainment, and from the business community.
Who will take center stage on the podcast next? Your seat on the aisle with Tom Alvarez awaits. Follow Tom on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and make sure to visit tomalvarez.studio. Watch Tom every other Thursday on Lifestyle Live on Wish TV, and make sure to listen every week here on the All Indiana Podcast Network.